Hello everybody, welcome to George Clay Photography. This is the Shimoda Action X30 camera bag. I got this a couple of days ago. I've already done an unboxing and initial impressions video on that. Link below if you want to see it. This video is going to be a little bit more specific and is here to address something that I noticed at the time that I was buying this bag, but now I've got it, I actually want to address it properly and test it myself. So, there are three bags in the Action X series line from Shimoda. The X30, which I have, the X50 and the X70. And the numbers in their names do denote their volumes in litres. And that is coming from Shimoda's own promotional videos relating to these bags that are on YouTube, and I'll link below. Now, specifically, those numbers refer to their compressed volume. That's to say, with the roll top down. With the roll top extended, they are supposed to have an extra 7 litres of capacity to put stuff in. Now, what's the controversy? Why am I making a video about this? Well, I am quite particular about bag external measurements, and the reason for that is airline carry-on requirements. I know I'm going to be flying with this bag quite regularly, and if you don't travel with your gear, you may not know, but if you do travel, you definitely should know, never ever ever check your camera gear. If you've seen videos of how airport luggage staff actually handle your bags, you'll know why. Just don't do it. If they want to get you on the plane without that bag, I'd honestly say no, get a different flight, because it's just not worth it. The gear is expensive, it is very sensitive to that kind of abuse, and I just wouldn't go there. So, the bag has to fit in airline carry-on. That's non-negotiable. So, I did take a look, before I bought it, at the official measurements from the manufacturer. I've got a card that came with this bag that has its measurements on, and I'll throw up a screenshot of the Shimoda's website where you can see the measurements for all the others. But they are, in centimetres, 30 by 50 by 16 for this X30 bag, 30 by 56 by 21 for the X50, and 31 by 59 by 23 for the X70. Now, simple enough. But if you multiply all that together to get the volume, what you find is that the X30 apparently has 24 litres of capacity, the X50 35.28, and the X70 has only got 42.067 litres of capacity. Now, what is going on here? You're apparently missing 6, 15 and even 28 litres from these bags. If you look at the X70, this entire bag is missing from its capacity. So what's going on? Well, it is worth noting that there is absolutely no standardization or regulation of how bag manufacturers measure the volume of their bags. And this is true not just for camera bags, but all bags. The manufacturers do their own measurements in terms of volume and external dimensions and internal dimensions, and then they put those on the product. Now, how do you get from there to such a big discrepancy? I suspect that it is because the volume is measured full and the external dimensions are measured empty, probably. That's not at all unusual, it's just not very helpful. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the external dimensions empty, and then I'm going to fill it with clothing. Clothing I'm using is just because it is a convenient thing that I have enough of to do this experiment with. This red box here is coincidentally pretty much exactly 37 litres. I'll put its dimensions up so you can verify that yourselves. And so I've filled this with clothes. I've then transferred some of those clothes to this box, just a cardboard box, which I have cut down. I'll put its dimensions up as well, to be 7 litres of capacity. So I've got 7 litres of clothes in here, and then that leaves remaining 30 litres of clothes in the big box. The way I will do this is I have removed the camera core unit and the internal liner from this bag, and that just leaves a nice big empty space to fill with everything. I will be using that. I will also be using the front compartment of the bag, and if necessary I'll use the single side compartment that is actually a pocket. The other side compartment just opens into the main area of the bag, as you've seen in the unboxing video. All the compression straps are undone because I don't want those restricting how much this bag can expand. Basically, I'm not going to hold Shimoda's feet over a fire if this doesn't all fit. You know, if there's a couple litres left over at the end, well, bag manufacturers round up and down. I don't think that's absurd, but I would expect most of this to fit. And in terms of the measurements, let's see. So, the way I'll do this bag has an aluminium frame. Oh, I should mention, the other pockets I'm not going to use are these ones on the straps, partly because they're very small and would be basically negligible. The other is because this bag can be bought with different straps which are designed for women, and some of those straps do not have these pockets on them, so I feel it would be inaccurate to measure a volume that some customers won't actually be getting if they've ordered it with those other straps. So this bag has an aluminium frame, and I will use that to measure the width and the height when it's empty, because that frame is rigid, and so that is the minimum height and the minimum width that it can possibly be. So let's do that. I'll start by measuring the width at the top here where I can feel the frame. So putting the measuring tape just over the side of that frame and measuring to the other side, we see, I would actually call that just about 28 centimeters. So actually quite favorable in that sense. 30 centimeters as a width from manufacturer measurements is not unreasonable given that frame. The height, which I'm going to do similarly by hooking the tape measure over the end of that aluminium frame and then just running it down to the bottom of the bag, that is 52 centimeters. Okay, so it is a little off. How they got a measurement of 50 centimeters, either empty or full, I'm not sure, because that's an aluminium frame and the bottom, and it goes right down to these bottom corners, and the back plate is actually quite rigid, so that is not compressing anymore. That is the height of the bag. Maybe we'll talk more about that later. In terms of the height, I'm just going to put it flat on the desk. I'm going to hold it by the straps and just measure the distance from the desk across the bottom plate of the bag up to its back. And I'm seeing just about 18 or 19 centimeters. So not hugely off, but a little bit big. I have a suspicion that that 16 centimeter measurement may have been taken with the camera cube in it and otherwise completely empty, because the camera cube I think is 13 centimeters. So if it was in the bag and you then measured its depth, you might well get a measurement of 16 centimeters. But I'm just testing the bag, partly because this is not just a camera bag. You can use it just as a bag itself, so I'm going to test it in that method. Okay, so next thing, let's fill it up with clothes. I'll speed this up to save you some time and see where we stand with 30 litres of clothes in this bag. Okay, so that is 30 litres. I can still roll the top of the bag down and close it, and this does not actually extend above the aluminium frame, so the measurement for height has remained exactly the same. It's still 52 centimeters high. That's quite impressive actually. I would say, yeah, 30 litres compressed is absolutely correct. Has the measurement for the width and depth changed? Well, yes, I'd say it has. This is definitely no longer 19 centimeters deep. In terms of width, it hasn't changed that much. I'd say you are looking at about 30, 31 centimeters wide, so that's quite impressive actually. It has remained fairly good width-wise. Sorry about that, had to restart the video filming. The camera I'm using, the Fujifilm X-T2, can only do 15 minutes recording at a time. So, the depth of the bag, measured again from the table, with it flat on the table, to the top of the bag, you're looking at just about 23, 24 centimeters, which again is not too bad. That fits within most airlines carry-on. I think 25 centimeters is the maximum you're generally going to find, and this is with it packed out. You take a bit of the stuff out, you're definitely going to fit probably down to about 20 centimeters, which is very good for carry-on. So let's put the next 7 litres in and see where it is with that. Okay, 37 litres. The roll top does still close. Can I do it up? Just. That is quite full. But honestly, it wasn't that difficult to get to that point, and that is properly closed. I haven't just clipped it together on the sides, and it is actually rolled over twice, so you do get still get proper waterproofing. Honestly, this test has impressed me a lot. I think I'm actually more impressed with this bag now than when I got it. The fact that it actually does hold up to those volume claims is really actually quite surprising. I generally assume that bag manufacturers are bigging up their volume claims because it is something people like to see. In terms of the measurements, now this is where it gets a little bit nuanced. Are they misleading? No. I don't think that Shimoda is in any way being misleading here. That height measurement, where it's the 52 centimeters, is taller than the bag is supposed to be, and that is the aluminium frame, so it cannot actually get any shorter than that. That's a bit weird. However, I don't know how that measurement was done or on what stage of the production process. You've got to bear in mind that this is a final production bag. This was a Kickstarter campaign funded bag, and those measurements may have been done before the final production bags were actually made. So in that sense, you can't really begrudge them. Yes, it's not particularly useful for the end user, but these things happen. I would have liked to have seen measurements a bit closer to the actual packed volume. Maybe not the expanded volume, but the standard packed volume of the bag. It would have been nice to see measurements that are a bit closer to that, but at the same time, can you necessarily expect that? People pack their bags differently, and I can understand a manufacturer not wanting to give packed dimensions when, how do they know how you're going to pack it? So yeah, I think that's probably what's happened with the measurements. What I would say is the X70 makes no pretense at being carry-on compliant. It's bigger than carry-on spec, and if that volume is correct, 70 litres, if you pack it out, it is not even going to be close to carry-on spec, let alone 77 litres. The 56 litre, now, I am not 100% sure if Shimoda actually claimed that it is carry-on. I know that in the promotional videos that their brand ambassadors have put out, there are people who show it being taken onto planes and that they are fine with it, but I'm not sure if Shimoda actually state it to be carry-on compliant. If the discrepancy in height with the X50 is the same as with this, the X30, it's going to be 58 centimeters tall. That is higher than most carry-on requirements, which are usually 56 centimeters. In terms of this bag, actually, when it is fully packed out, you're looking at just over 50 centimeters, maybe just shy of 60 actually, maybe around 58, 59. So if you fully pack this bag out, the X30, I wouldn't, you might get away with it carry on. I mean, there's nothing stopping you taking stuff out of the top of this and shoving it in your pockets when you go through check-in, but fully packed, this may not be carry-on compliant. With the roll top down, the way it's packed normally, it probably will be. Generally, all the time, this should be fine with pretty much any airline. There are some which have small, so do check in your region, but generally speaking, you're going to be fine with the X30. The X50 if you're looking at it, I would suggest that you get your hands on it before you buy it and actually measure, in particular, how big is the aluminium frame, because that's what really matters here. Pretty much everything else you can squish it down a bit, but that frame denotes how big this bag is going to be and whether it will fit in those carry-on bins. So there you have it. In general though, this is really good, and I was very surprised at how easy this was to pack completely full. This is better than a lot of dedicated rucksacks in terms of packability. Really impressed with that. And it's taken it really, really well. It doesn't even look that big, and it doesn't look like it would have a problem carrying. So yeah, really, really impressed with the way this bag has handled this test. But it does make a good point of check what manufacturers say, particularly about the specific specs. And in terms of bags, that often means the dimensions, because they are very often going to be not necessarily inaccurate, not necessarily misleading, but not as useful as you might wish them to be. Anyway, there will be some more videos coming on this bag. There's going to be a full review at some point in the future. So like and subscribe to see that content. Thanks for watching.